South Korea's consumer prices in August slowed to the lowest in nearly 3.5 years on easing prices of farm produce and global oil. Military and public health doctors will be deployed to hospital emergency rooms during the upcoming Chuseok holiday to make sure there are no disruptions in emergency care caused by the prolonged walkout by junior doctors. Hamas posted a video showing the 6 hostages that were recently recovered from Gaza, threatening to release their last message to the world before they were killed. Protesters took to the streets for the second day in Israel against the government's failure to strike a ceasefire deal. Thanks for joining us on Arirang News. I'm Kim Dami in Seoul. Consumer inflation here in South Korea looks like it's getting under control, with August marking the slowest rise since March 2021. Our Park Kwon-woo reports.
Inflation in South Korea is showing signs of stabilizing as it reached the government's target in the 2% range last month. According to Statistics Korea on Tuesday, the Consumer Price Index saw an on-year rise of 2% in August. That's the smallest jump since March 2021. Smaller increases in the prices for petroleum products due to lower international oil prices and farm produce were given as the main reasons. The Consumer Price Index has been under 3% for 5 straight months since April. It has also been continuously seeing on-year falls since then, except for a slight jump in July. The price of petroleum products rose by 0.1% on-year in August, a sharp drop compared to July when it spiked by 8%. Farm products soared by 3.6%, again a smaller rise than July when it jumped by 9%. The price of pears skyrocketed by some 120%. However, according to an official from Statistics Korea, the price will fall with newly harvested pears available soon. Also during a Vice Ministerial Economic meeting held on Tuesday, First Vice Minister of Economy and Finance Kim Bum-seok said the government predicts inflation to stay at in the low 2% range due to stabilizing oil and farm product prices. Kim also said the government will do its best to manage prices of high-demand products ahead of the Chuseok holiday in order to keep prices low. He said it will be releasing 170,000 tons of high-demand products, including apples and pears, along with supporting discounts for agricultural and fisheries products. Park Kwon-woo, Arirang News.
The South Korean government is taming public concerns over the absence of junior doctors during the upcoming Chuseok holiday. More military and public doctors will fill the gap so that emergency care stays up and running. Choi Min-jung reports.
Around 6 months since the mass resignation of resident doctors, public concern is mounting over the country's emergency care system. With the lack of personnel in emergency units, the government has decided to deploy military doctors to fill the gaps.
We will deploy replacement personnel, including military doctors and public health doctors, as soon as possible.
On Wednesday, a total of 15 military doctors will be deployed to medical institutions with limited emergency care. Starting next Monday, approximately 235 military and public health doctors will be dispatched to high-risk institutions. The government also laid out measures to prevent a potential medical crisis during the upcoming Chuseok holiday in the 3rd week of September. This comes as the medical community warns that more university hospitals will close emergency rooms during the holiday, while the number of patients is bound to increase.
We'll operate emergency response weeks for approximately 2 weeks, from September 11th to 25th, and make every effort to minimize disruption in treating severe emergency patients.
The lack of personnel has caused university hospitals to suspend the running of emergency rooms during the night and on holidays, causing concern that people will not receive proper emergency treatment. According to the Health Ministry, however, 99% of the emergency rooms are still operating 24 hours a day, while around 6% are operating with a reduced number of beds. The total number of doctors working in emergency rooms is a little over 74% of the average. Monday's briefing was the government's first daily briefing held to provide the public with up-to-date details on emergency care. Choi Min-jung, Arirang News.
This October 1st, the 76th Armed Forces Day of South Korea looks like to be designated a temporary holiday. The motion for designation was passed by the cabinet this morning and now awaits President Yoon Suk-yeol's final approval. Prime Minister Han Duck-soo said the government's decision aims to raise national interest in defense security and remember the service of the armed forces. President Yoon, who approved such a designation last year, is expected to grant his approval again this year. 100 caregivers from the Philippines will begin working in South Korea starting on Tuesday. Amid a shortage of local caregivers, South Korea has created a special government program to hire foreign domestic helpers to look after children, mainly aged under 7 years old. These workers, who have gone through a 4-week training program, will work up to 40 hours per week in 157 households across Seoul. 60% of Koreans who've signed up for the 6-month pilot program are couples with multiple children and where both parents are working. The government aims to increase the number of caregivers from overseas up to 1,200 to help combat low birth rates. However, as issues still remain over the pricing and the caregivers' responsibilities, the government is to monitor the service to make further adjustments. President Yoon Suk-yeol, in a banquet with U.S. senators on Monday, stressed the importance of the South Korea-U.S. alliance, as well as their 3-way cooperation with Japan in the Indo-Pacific region. Senator Bill Hagerty and Senator Chris Coons expressed their support, saying that in the face of global complex challenges, the solidarity and unity between their countries is more important than ever, while commending Yoon's courage in improving Seoul's ties with Tokyo. The banquet menu was selected by First Lady Kim Gun-hee, featuring popular Korean dishes like tteokbokki, stir-fried pork, kimchi stew, and seafood pancakes. The delegation expressed their appreciation and also wished the First Lady a happy birthday with a song and a bouquet of flowers. Mass protests in the streets of Tel Aviv continue for a second day, with protesters angered by the deaths of 6 hostages. U.S. President Joe Biden has also responded that Netanyahu wasn't doing enough to reach a deal in Gaza. An Sung-jin has more.
Protests in Israel headed into the second day, with hundreds of thousands of protesters pouring into the streets. The country also saw suspension of services by general strikes over anger at the government's failure to secure a deal that sees the release of hostages. These are the largest protests in Israel since the attack by Hamas last October. As the overnight demonstrations continued throughout Monday, the country's largest labor union threatened to shut down the entire economy. This comes as public fury grows over the death of 6 hostages who had been seized by Hamas.
When we hear about the 6 bodies that they came back, I think everybody feel like they have to do something, and I think it's one of the reasons that so many people came out from home.
Demonstrators voiced that the hostages could have returned alive if Netanyahu's government had successfully agreed a deal with Hamas. Hamas said that Gaza captives will return in coffins if Israel continues its attacks in Gaza, after it released a video on Telegram of the 6 hostages when they were alive, which demanded for a ceasefire deal. The Hamas statement also said that Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu would be fully responsible for the death of the captives. Netanyahu responded that they were close to the deal and that Hamas will pay a very heavy price for this. However, when asked on Monday whether Netanyahu was doing enough to reach a ceasefire, U.S. President Joe Biden responded no to the reporters at the White House. Biden added that he was close to presenting a final proposal for a deal to release hostages, but negotiations mediated by the United States, Qatar, and Egypt so far failed to reach an accord. Out of the 250 hostages that had been held captive by Hamas since last October, less than half have made it back home. At least 70 have died and the rest still remain unaccounted for, with uncertainty on whether they are still alive. Meanwhile, the UK announced a partial ban on weapon exports to Israel, suspending 30 out of 350 weapon exports licensed to Israel over a, quote, clear risk the exports could be used to breach international law. An Sung-jin, Arirang News.
The Russia-Ukraine war is intensifying ever since Kyiv began its incursion into Russian territory early last month. Ukraine is demanding additional weapon support from the West, while Russia said it will revise its nuclear doctrine. Lee Seung-jae reports.
While Ukraine continues incursions in Russian territory, Russia is also making advances in key Ukrainian regions. This includes the city of Pokrovsk in the Donetsk region, from where Ukrainians are evacuating and leaving everything behind as Russian forces close in. If Russia takes over the city, it would be a major blow to Ukraine, as it's known as a key transportation hub and logistics center for its military supplies. In response, Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky is calling on the West to lift restrictions on long-range missiles, while also requesting more weapons, which he says have already been agreed upon. Amid the escalating tensions, Moscow said it will revise its nuclear doctrine containing the principles of nuclear weapons use. Russian Deputy Foreign Minister Sergei Ryabkov said Sunday that it will revise the doctrine in order to lower the threshold for nuclear weapons use due to the West's escalating provocations. In 2020, under a decree by President Vladimir Putin, the doctrine says Russia may use its nuclear weapons in the event of a nuclear attack by an enemy or a conventional attack that threatens the existence of the country. One of Russia's biggest allies in China expressed concerns over such threat, stressing that Moscow should regain its composure and prevent a nuclear escalation. Meanwhile, Putin made a state visit to Mongolia on Monday, despite an arrest warrant for the Russian leader from the International Criminal Court. Mongolia is a member of the ICC and are bound to detain those that have an arrest warrant issued for them. The ICC issued his arrest warrant nearly 18 months ago on charges of war crimes in Ukraine. Despite this, the Russian leader was welcomed by the Mongolian foreign minister upon arrival. Ukraine, the EU, and the ICC have called for Putin to be arrested. However, the court does not have any enforcement mechanism that would make the warrant effective. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
K-pop girl group 21 have followed up selling out all upcoming concert dates celebrating their 15th debut anniversary by refeeding the feeds in Japan. All tickets for the 21 concert series at Kobe World Memorial Hall on November 30th and December 1st, as well as the December 14th and 15th concerts in Ariake Arena in Tokyo have sold out. According to YG Entertainment on Monday, due to the overwhelming demand, additional concerts have been added, November 29th in Kobe and December 13th in Tokyo, bringing the total number of performances in Japan to 6. But before the concerts over in Japan, 21 will perform at the Olympic Hall at Seoul Olympic Park on October 4th, 5th, and 6th. This will be the first solo concert by the girl group in 10 years. Now over in Paris, where it's bustling with the Paralympics, Team Korea is bringing home a gold medal in boccia, marking its third gold of this Paralympics. Our Choi Soo-hyung has more.
South Korean Paralympic athlete Jeong Ho-won won a gold medal in boccia at the 2024 Paris Paralympic Games on Monday. The 38-year-old defeated Australia's Daniel Michel 5-2 in the men's singles event for his fourth overall Paralympics gold medal. With this, Team Korea now has 3 gold medals at the Games so far. Also, Team Korea set a record by winning their 10th consecutive gold in boccia, going back to the 1988 Seoul Games. Boccia is a game where players with cerebral palsy or other neurological conditions aim to get balls as close as possible to a target. It was officially added to the Paralympics in 1984. Team Korea's Chung Song-jun also won a silver medal in the same event. And Team Korea added a few more medals, including Choi Jung-man winning a silver medal in the men's singles badminton event after losing in the final to Chi Zi-mo of China. Choi became paralyzed in his lower body due to a car accident in his senior year of high school and started playing badminton during his rehabilitation. It was his first ever Paralympics. Team Korea also added 2 bronze medals. Kim Jong-nam won bronze in the mixed 25-meter pistol event. After becoming disabled in a car accident in 2010, he started shooting in 2013, dedicating himself fully to the sport and won a medal in his first Paralympics in Paris. Another bronze was added in the badminton singles match, where in between two other Korean players. Kim Jong-jun defeated Yoo Soo-young, earning his third medal following his 2 silvers at the 2020 Tokyo Paralympics. South Korea is currently 14th place in the medal standings with 3 gold, 7 silver and 8 bronze medals. Choi Soo-hyung, Arirang News.
As in monsoon seasons of previous years, this year mud has been washed down mountains and onto homes and highways caused by the continuous rain. Soil creep, which is the downward progression of soil down a low-grade slope, was hard to predict, unlike landslides. However, progress has been made by national researchers in developing a soil creep prediction system. Cha Yoon-kyung has more.
This is near Twamsan Mountain in Gyeongju, 2 kilometers away from Seokguram Grotto. There is a depression in the center of the mountain. Soil creep and landslides appear similar, but there is a distinction between them. A landslide happens all of a sudden, while soil creep is slow and consistent, bringing the risk of recurrent earth movements. There are distinct differences among their geological features, soil consistency, and moving speed. Most earth movements that occur in mountainous areas of South Korea are likely to be landslides, which occur on steep slopes of 20 to 40 degrees. Recently, soil creep has been observed on gentle slopes of less than 20 degrees. National researchers have made progress on a prediction system that will notify them of soil creep in its early stages. The research team installed various sensors, such as wire extensometers, groundwater gauges, and displacement meters for structures that are connected via wired and wireless systems to a central monitoring station. While existing landslide prediction is focused on shallow collapses of land, the soil creep system monitors not only surface layers but also deep underground. The system can remotely predict the emergence rate and extent of soil creep through the sensors, also incorporating GPS, without the need for the physical presence of researchers. Another strength of the system is that it can be used regardless of the weather.
While humans had to make physical measurements in the past, the remote system allows us to check on the spot information through ICT with values observed by the sensors.
More than 60% of cases of soil creep are initiated by artificial changes to the landscape, such as the building of roads or industrial complexes. The research team plans to monitor soil creep nationwide by installing remote systems in mountainous regions across the country. Cha Yoon-kyung, Arirang News.
Let's move on to the world now. Starting off in the U.S., where the presidential campaign is heating up. In an interview with Fox News, former President Donald Trump accused Vice President Kamala Harris for mistreating former Vice President Mike Pence. Trump's remarks came as he called Harris an unpleasant person and criticized the way she treats others. The interview also touched on Harris questioning of Brett Kavanaugh during his 2018 Senate confirmation hearings after Trump nominated him to the U.S. Supreme Court. Harris' campaign quickly responded to Trump's remarks. The campaign posted on X saying, in a stunningly senile moment, Donald Trump just suggested it was Kamala Harris who treated Mike Pence poorly, and that Trump clearly can't remember anything, along with a link to a video of Trump's comments. The U.S. Department of Justice said Monday that a plane used by Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro had been seized and flown from the Dominican Republic to Florida after it was determined that the purchase of the aircraft violated American sanctions. The Venezuelan government confirmed that President Maduro had used the plane and condemned the seizure, calling it illegal and an example of repeated criminal behavior by the U.S. A U.S. Commerce Department spokesman said the seizure sends a clear message their aircraft illegally purchased from the United States by sanctioned Venezuelan officials cannot simply disappear without consequence. The aircraft seizure comes amid ongoing domestic and international pressure on President Maduro connected to the country's July 28 election, which Maduro claims to have won. The opposition says it has copies of vote tallies which show that their candidate was the winner. Pope Francis has set off on a 12-day tour of the Asia-Pacific region, which includes visits to 4 countries. Despite recent health issues, the 87-year-old leader of the Catholic Church departed from Rome on Monday afternoon local time to begin a trip spanning 33,000 kilometers, the pontiff's longest ever trip. The Pope's first stop is Indonesia's capital Jakarta, where he will stay until Friday before visiting Papua New Guinea, East Timor, and Singapore. During this tour, he is expected to deliver a strong message urging global action against climate change. The countries on his itinerary are particularly vulnerable to the effects of global warming, rising sea levels, increasingly severe and unpredictable heat waves and typhoons. Yoon Se-young, Arirang News.
Good afternoon. Seoul had temperatures going down below 30 degrees Celsius yesterday after 35 days. But temperatures jumped right back to the 30s again with morning sunshine. In fact, the central regions and Jeollado provinces should notice highs going 1 to 5 degrees higher this afternoon. Meanwhile, southern parts of Korea and Jeju will see on and off rain, with Jeju Island seeing up to 40 millimeters. The rest of the south could see 5 to 20 throughout the day today. But the heat stays on Jeju. The island saw a tropical night return last night with an expected high of 32 degrees Celsius this afternoon. Meanwhile, most of the western regions should make it to 31 degrees. Cloudy skies for most regions this afternoon except Busan and nearby areas. Now, those on Jeju need to keep an umbrella handy through Thursday, and there will be slight heat relief on Thursday in central parts of Korea with rain, but afternoon heat continues until Sunday. That's Korea for you. Here's a look at the international weather conditions.
That wraps up our midday edition of Arirang News. Thanks for watching.